The hospital bustled with activity as nurses hurried between patients, doctors issued urgent orders, and families anxiously waited for news of their loved ones. Dr. Maya Reyes navigated the controlled chaos with her usual grace, her presence a calming force for both patients and colleagues. For over a decade, she had dedicated herself to this institution, earning the trust and respect of everyone she encountered. But as of late, her sense of security had been shaken by one man, Officer Kevin "Kev" Matthews. Matthews had once been a well-regarded police officer, known for his sharp instincts and ability to close cases. But in recent months, his demeanor had shifted. His aggression had increased, his behavior growing erratic, and rumors swirled of his involvement in dubious police activities. Despite this, his badge still afforded him unchecked authority, which he wielded indiscriminately. His latest target was Maya. It started with passive-aggressive remarks whenever he was stationed at the hospital, usually escorting detainees needing medical attention. Then, he began accusing her of mishandling patient files, suggesting she was covering for undocumented individuals. Maya dismissed his accusations at first, chalking them up to the misguided hostility she had encountered before as an immigrant. But soon, his harassment escalated. One evening, as Maya finished her shift, she found Matthews waiting for her near the staff exit. "Long night?" he asked, his voice laden with insinuation. Maya stiffened, but kept her composure. "Like any other," she replied, attempting to walk past him. Matthews stepped in her path. "I hear you've been getting real cozy with patient records. People like you always have something to hide." Maya's breath caught in her throat. "Excuse me?" "Just saying," he continued, his voice dripping with malice. "If I were you, I'd be careful. A single mistake can end a career." Maya had filed complaints about Matthews' behavior, but every time she raised concerns, the response was the same. He was a respected officer, and without direct proof of misconduct, nothing could be done. The frustration mounted, and she began to fear for her job, her reputation, and even her safety. Unknown to Maya, Detective Laura Kim had been following a separate trail. Matthews had drawn her attention as part of a broader investigation into corruption within the department. A series of cases he had worked on showed inconsistencies, but the most damning involved a wrongful conviction years ago. Evidence suggested that Matthews had been involved in manipulating testimonies to pin a crime on an innocent man. What Detective Kim needed was a link to expose him fully. Meanwhile, Carlos Reyes, Maya's younger brother and a dedicated community organizer, had started gathering stories of police misconduct. He had heard whispers about Matthews from people too afraid to speak up. When Maya confided in him about her own experiences, Carlos immediately saw a pattern. "He's targeting you for a reason," Carlos said one evening. "We just have to figure out why." The answer came unexpectedly. While reviewing old patient records one night, Maya came across a familiar name, the man who had been wrongfully convicted in Matthews' case. Years ago, she had treated him in the emergency room after a brutal assault. She had documented his injuries meticulously, records that proved he was nowhere near the crime scene when it happened. The evidence had been ignored at the time, but now it could be the key to exonerating him and exposing Matthews. Realizing the weight of this discovery, Maya reached out to Detective Kim. "I have something you need to see," she said over the phone. Kim wasted no time arranging a meeting. When Maya presented the patient records, Kim's face hardened. "This is it. This is the missing link." Armed with this new evidence, Kim began piecing together a case against Matthews. She and Carlos worked to ensure the story gained traction, enlisting the help of media outlets and community organizations. The public outcry grew louder, putting immense pressure on law enforcement to act. Then, the inevitable confrontation came. As Matthews attempted to intimidate Maya again outside the hospital, she didn't back down. "You can try to silence me," she said firmly, "but the truth is already out there." Matthews scoffed. "You really think anyone's going to listen to you over me?" "They already are," Maya replied as she nodded towards a group of onlookers, among them Detective Kim, Carlos, and members of the press. Realizing he was cornered, Matthews made a desperate attempt to leave, but Kim stepped forward. "Officer Matthews, you're under arrest for obstruction of justice and misconduct in a criminal investigation." The arrest sent shockwaves through the department and the city. Investigations into Matthews' past cases were reopened, revealing further instances of corruption. The hospital, in response to Maya's ordeal, implemented stricter policies to protect staff from law enforcement overreach. Maya was publicly commended for her courage, and the wrongfully convicted man was finally given the justice he had been denied for years. Carlos, inspired by the impact of their efforts, continued to push for police accountability. "This is just the beginning," he told Maya. "People like Matthews have thrived for too long, but change is happening." Maya, though shaken, found solace in the knowledge that she had stood up not just for herself, but for countless others who had been silenced. She returned to her work, now more determined than ever to be a voice for those who needed it. In the end, the community emerged stronger, a testament to the power of truth, resilience, and solidarity. And for the first time in a long while, Maya walked through the hospital doors with her head held high, knowing that justice had finally prevailed.